Wait, I wasn't ready. I gotta wear my coder glasses.
I asked you just a second ago, are we ready to go? Yeah, go
Do
for
we
it.
have the coding sound? Like,
I don't think we have.
do we?
This.
That's not a coding sound. Imagine that would be the coding sound. That would be great. Hello, everybody. Welcome to once again, our bi-weekly game creator Q&A. I'm your host, Stan the Man. And today with me, I got Levi, one of our developers from the experimentation team, and also Henry, who's been working on our streamer and a lot of the guides lately. So yeah, another developer. And also behind the scenes, we got Essa managing the camera, changing different scenes and showing you guys and doing all the media magic there. All right, but welcome everybody to the Q&A. As usual, today we will start by giving you some of the updates on our stuff. Okay, these glasses are maybe too much. We're going to give you some updates on the things we've been working on, showing you some things behind the scenes that we're going to push to the website in the coming weeks, or things we've been working and for fun. And after that, we will go to your questions and we'll be happy to answer them. So without further ado, I guess first thing we can do is show the streamer we've been working on that you can stream from the web. We've been talking about it for many weeks already, but it's getting there slowly. And today I wanted to show you guys one quick demo. So Essa, if you could change the scene. There we go. I guess they don't see me on the camera. Well, we can do it that way. Hello, everybody. All right, so this is a demo of the streamer we're working on that you can use. Basically, you go to a page on the website and you can select your robot ID. You can press start streaming. And then what will happen is either on your phone or on your computer or anywhere else that supports this API, you could say, you can stream the camera directly from the browser to the player view. So if for example, if you have a webcam, you can go to this page, select your game, start streaming your camera, and then people who are playing it will be seeing it. So you don't have to connect it to the Raspberry Pi. You can connect it straight from your laptop, or you can use your phone camera. So you just go to the same page from your phone, you press start streaming, and it will use your phone camera to stream. But the cool thing I wanted to show you here is another thing you can do. It does increase the latency a little bit by like 50 milliseconds, but what you can do is you can use Virtual Cam, which is an OBS plugin. It's really easy to install. And then once you use that, you can use your OBS as a camera for the player view. What this means is that you can add a bunch of different elements directly to the view. Let's, for example, add a color. I don't know. Let's add pink, surrogate pink. There we go. And you can add web overlays. You can mess with our overlay, for example. You can edit the CSS. So if you want to indicate if you have a game with multiple robots, you can edit the CSS file and you can then show who's controlling which robot, for example, things like that. You can add GIFs, you can do, well, whatever you could do on OBS, but you can do it also with the player view, not just the watcher view, but also the player view. So here, for example, I'm streaming, I have a GIF, I have myself with a lot of light, so I look really weird. And then here I'm streaming it to my game, Standby 2. And if we go here, this is the Standby 2 game. You can see the streamer is currently green, and when I press preview, you can see the stuff that is happening on OBS directly on the preview. So when the player plays, they will see the same thing. And we can see here, if I stop streaming, the streamer automatically turns off. I don't know, it's a pretty cool, neat feature we're working on. It's not yet on the website, but we're working to pushing it out soon. There's still some limitations with it. Like, for example, there's no easy way to stream the watcher view. So you'll have to go for our guide to stream the watcher view from OBS as well. But we're looking into it. And this is more of an experimental feature that we want to let you guys test out. Let's switch the camera for now. And next up, we've got Henry, who is going to talk about Aruka markers. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
So that's another thing we're working on to make game development a bit easier to those creators out there. So here's the HDMI.
That as well.
Yeah. So Henry has been working. Oh, I can help you out. 1 second. There you go. So last couple of weeks, Henry has been testing out using the... Whoa, that's interesting colors there. Last couple of weeks, Henry has been working on testing out the Aruko marker stuff, which basically lets you add game logic quite easily to your games. If basically a camera finds an Aruko marker or an Aruko marker is in a certain distance, you can add different events like passing checkpoints. You can have a hide and seek game. You can have a game of catch and a bunch of other things very easily without, you know, making any smart code systems per se. So it's pretty easy way to add game logic. And we have a small technical difficulty right now, but we're going to fix it. And then Henry is hopefully going to show you a demo. Do you want me to show it from my screen somehow? Can I go to some page to show it?
Yeah, you could.
All right. So send me the link. I'm going to grab the HDMI cable and we'll show you the stuff in a little bit. 1 second, chat. And also hello to all the people on YouTube, if we have some. Essa, can you send me the link to the YouTube? I want to see if anybody writes any messages there, just so we know. And while we are prepping this... All right, so I have the game open now. What do you want me to do?
Just watch it.
Just watch it? But do I preview it on the player view or on the watcher view is okay?
Watcher view should be fine.
All right. Do I have to play it or are you going to play and show?
I'll play it.
All right. Great.
Is it on purpose black right now?
No. It's not black for sure. So that's something on your side. I can replug the HDMI. And things we learned today. Don't disconnect HDMI cables on a live stream. Still getting black? Try to change the source sometimes.
Oh, it might be... Nope.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So here is a game that Henry made as a test. And this is an Aruko marker, right? Can you guys see it on the camera? I guess you can see it on the stream, yeah. So this is how an Aruko marker looks. We've been using it on sumo bots, for example. And what are you trying to do, Henry?
Okay, it works. Great. Just testing.
All right.
So yeah, in this version, you just get points when you get close enough to the Aruko marker.
All right. So this is a demo that you can kind of show that, for example, you can have a game of catch, and if you get very close to an Aruko marker, it will count like you bumped the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Great,
right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can see, okay, so on the view, you guys can see probably, but we have like these 2 points, 3 points, and every time Henry gets closer, you get an extra point. So this is kind of showing how you can have a easy game logic without maybe modifying the code too much. You can, hopefully we'll have it so that you can just have a, I guess, a game template code snippet.
Yeah, there will be several different templates, so you can
just copy paste them to your class, I guess, the game loop, right?
Yeah, it'll be pretty easy to hook up, and there
and
will be different types, so you can have games where you have to find, say, 5 markers, and you can have this distance thing.
Okay.
You can use it, well, for whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah, one thing we were talking about with Henry today is that you can also probably use it as a shooting game. For example, you can just, if the Aruko marker is in a certain position and distance on the camera, you can count it like when you press shoot, it will actually be counted like you actually shot the person. So things like that you can do without any, you know, adding extra sensors or anything like that. It's just a simple Aruko marker, which simplifies adding a lot of complex game logic, all types. You can do racing, right, as well, just by having checkpoints and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. And how would you add the Aruko markers? Do you just generate them on some website and then add them as files, or?
Well, there's websites you can go to print them.
Okay.
You have to obviously have them printed out.
And then in our SDK, how do you define them?
You just use the ID. So the only information this contains.
So you only send you only change the line of code. You don't actually have to like add an image or anything like that. That's even easier.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, moving on. Let's see what else do we have in the news. There is quite some many topics. So just a second, chat. Bear with me. Next up, we wanted to talk about the command line tool. You wanted to mention that.
Right, yeah, a quick mention for a quick tool. It's a small tool to help developers, so you can do things like change the game token and change the Python game you're using if you're developing something.
Okay. So what things does it make easier? You mentioned, I think, changing the game templates, right?
Yeah,
And what else? Like, what are the features? Like, I'm just curious.
you can restart the game, so both Dreamer and controller at once.
Okay. And is it like easily accessible? Like, I can just write something help, and then it will show me all the commands, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if you're like doing it for the first time and you don't want to go through the documentation, you can just do that and then easily figure out what to do. Okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to dig around in the files, just use the tool and
All right.
it'll do it for you.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, so that's another update. And then one more thing, which we are hopefully going to do tomorrow. Actually, this is going to that update as well, right? So we're going to release a new image
Yes.
tomorrow. And this command line tool is coming there. And then I think we're adding something else, right? Can you hear me?
Still a bit tired from yesterday.
Okay, but you
Yes,
didn't
so
get the hint.
there will be, well, it's a small thing.
Okay.
Audio will be enabled by default.
Yeah. So right now, if you have an audio device, like for example, a capture card for a Nintendo Switch, the video will work, but you will have to add the sound manually. Like it's just one small snippet in your SRTG TOML file. But now, after the image release, the sound will be fetched automatically, right?
Yep. There will also be a new loopback device for the image recognition.
All
so
right.
when we finally release it, the whole Aruga thing, you basically don't have to do anything to get it working.
Yeah. So if you do any image rec stuff, or what else can you do? Something else with a loopback device. Basically, a loopback device allows you to have a same camera source as what the player, for example, sees for something else, like for image recognition or something. I don't know if you use Windows computer, you might have had this issue where because one app is using your camera, you cannot use the same camera in another app. When you have a loopback device, that gets solved straight away.
Yep.
All right. Next up, I brought Levi here, and I wanted him to show you guys his Lego robot that he used. What was it? Last Let's Do This event, right?
Yes.
All right. So I don't know if we can get the camera somehow close up.
We can try.
All right.
We might
So
get the black screen.
S is gonna go and do some media magic and show you guys how it looks up close. All right. Let's maybe zoom in a bit more. So
That's full.
that's full. Oh no.
Okay, but basically we have been working with these Lego bots for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And one interesting thing about this is that we finally have something related to the Arduino firmware that we have been talking about. So we were planning quite long ago to release the Arduino firmware with the M5 bots.
Yep.
But the M5 hardware turned out to be, well, let's say suboptimal. So we didn't get those working well enough. And then the Arduino firmware kind of
Went on hold for a bit.
yeah, there was nothing to like show as an example, so it was a bit of pointless. But now we have these Lego bots which are using this Arduino. It's Arduino MKR 1000 Wi-Fi. And so it's a pretty straightforward bot. It doesn't require anything too complex to make. And now we have finally something to kind of tie the Arduino firmware release to. And so at the moment we have basically one thing we are working with. Currently the Arduino firmware uses UDP, which is a nice communication protocol if you want to kind of quickly send data without knowing did it ever reach the destination. The problem is that if you have bad Wi-Fi, like we do, some packages get lost and then the bot just goes stuck driving forward or turning or whatever. And so we are looking into two options, basically changing that communication to TCP, where packages are guaranteed to arrive and in right order, or then we make the UDP communication more robust by sending the commands more frequently. But all that is to say that we are still doing some last changes. If we have to do the TCP change, there's going to be a bit more work, and it's going to affect the API, so we cannot release it yet. If we end up going with the UDP, we can release it a bit sooner and do the remaining changes after it's released. But yeah, I would say there's like 2 weeks to 1 month when it's going to be released, ideally.
Okay. And can you tell more about the robot you made and like how you guys decided to do it and how are you going to have a guide on that? And
yeah, so basically the interesting thing about Legos is that they are easy to modify. That was pretty much the basic idea around this. And the thing that makes this possible is that we found these servos that has Lego compatible mounting, but they are still regular servos using PWM control. And so that's really what makes this possible. Then you can use any off-the-shelf hardware to control the servos and add all kinds of functionality. So basically there are these servos that you can use to drive, so they can spin 360 degrees. There are these regular servos with 270 degrees control. And then also some Lego compatible DC motors. And so then all you need is some kind of like a frame, which you can easily build out of Legos. And then here I used a plywood sheet to mount into the Legos and then screw all the electronics to that plywood.
all right.
So nothing fancy required here.
But I guess you have, maybe if we show that one, maybe it's a better demo. Oh, but okay, that one is the simple one. That's just the Arduino. And this is the more advanced version. So maybe you can show on the camera what's inside. I guess there's a Raspberry A, right?
Yeah, so here we wanted to have onboard camera, which at the moment is not possible with the Arduino version.
Yep.
And so we went with the Raspberry 3 Model A, which is kind of the, well, it's smallest Raspberry that can actually run our streamer and SDK, at least at the moment.
Yep.
And so, as you can see, here we had to put things on 2 layers. There is like the Raspberry.
Show it to the camera. I know how it works. Show it to the camera.
There is the Raspberry underneath. If I break this apart. So here is the Raspberry Model 3 or 3A and the servo connectors. And then on the second layer we have these batteries.
Yep.
As well as 2 boost converters.
Yep.
And one is to power the Raspberry and the second one is for the servos. And then finally, well, I just zip tied a camera on top of the batteries because this is the very first prototype I assembled today.
Yep. Zip ties for the win.
Yeah.
Is it, by the way, working? Is it possible to test it out?
It is, unless I just broke it.
I think it went offline, is it? Or I don't see the camera showing green anymore.
Oh yeah, I unplugged the camera, that might explain.
Yeah, probably. All right. Let's see. I'm going to queue up and see if it works. Will it let me in? I think the camera now doesn't work. Let's see. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, I think we lost the streamer. Oh well, I guess it's a demo effect. But yeah, it works. We've been testing it today. Levi was driving it all around. The nice part about the TCP change that we're thinking of doing that Levi mentioned is that if you lose connection, you don't get like very long losses of controls. It happens, like it recovers much quicker. So that's why we're evaluating doing that. Some of you might have seen on like Robot Explorer or in Sumo bots, maybe even sometimes we have like these long losses of connection. So that could help eliminate issues like this. Moving on, I guess we are done at least with our main points, unless we're gonna have this rover working, but it's okay. And let's move to the Q&A. If you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask them. One more thing. Tomorrow we're gonna announce the winners of the Creators Fund for our last month, so stay tuned for that. Tomorrow on the Ninja Robot podcast. But yeah, without further ado, if you guys have any questions about the things we presented, or you have some other questions or issues or anything else, now is the time to ask. And let me just check also the chat.
Want to hear a UDP joke?
Sure.
I don't care if you get it.
But let me just go to the game creator chat. There we go. TGC Fabian wrote about the OBS stuff. OBS built-in virtual cam works, in my experience, better and smoother compared to the plugin. Actually, TGC Fabian, if you know how to use it, I haven't figured out how to use it somehow, so I just found this plugin because it was easier. I know that OBS has something built in, but I'm not sure.
We are using it right now.
Okay, well maybe I gotta try it out. Somehow when I was looking for the guides on Google, it suggested me to use this plugin. So there you go. But the latency is quite okay. I'd say when I tested, the latency was maybe 250 milliseconds total, glass to glass. So how long does it take to get to the player? So it's not that bad, but you get to add extra elements on top of your stream. So that's nice. And then you can also use your computer instead of having the Raspberry Pi. And as we discussed, I think last time, you can also probably run the Python SDK directly in your PC. So then you can, for example, once we have the Arduino SDK out, you can just have the Arduino robot, and you can stream it from the camera on your computer. You can have the Python on the computer, and then you don't have to have all the hardware. You can just have the Arduino robot, for example, and the rest runs from your computer. Start virtual camera. Oh yeah, now I see it. Oh my, that's true. I gotta test it out. Now I see on my OBS the start virtual camera. I haven't noticed it before. Maybe the latency even gets better. Well, I'll give it a try. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, the nice part about that OBS thing is the stream from the phone, I think. Because then you can use your phone. Like if you have an old iPhone, for example, that you're not using anymore, like an iPhone 6. You can stream from it. The latency is surprisingly really nice on the Safari. It's like 150 milliseconds, which is the same what you get on a Raspberry Pi with a camera. So it's quite low. And yeah, you can have it as a hotspot as well. So sorry, you can use the internet from your iPhone for streaming. So if you go far away, you can basically use the phone to control the robot really nicely. All right. Do you guys have any other questions or points that you would like to point out? I know some of our creators are building some games, especially the ones who got into Creators Fund last month, but they're not just ready to be released. So that is also interesting. If you guys have any updates, would be great to know. All right. I think we're making so much, like, we're doing so much stuff, and we're trying to be open about it that maybe people already know what is happening and coming up, so they don't have as many questions as before. But yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, we gave all the updates. Do you have anything else to mention? Might be interesting, or Levi? No, nothing on the development. All right. Do we have any guides coming up? Well, we have the Aruko marker guide coming. I guess.
When it's done.
When it's done. All right.
I guess if there's any ideas for the Aruko markers.
Like the game templates. Yeah, that would be great to know. If you have any ideas on the game templates that we should do, would be great to know. Right now, what do we have in the... We have the racing checkpoints, I think, and the catch. Or sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Those
so
are going to
basically
be the main ones.
Finding a certain marker for getting close enough. Yeah.
So if you have any other ideas what templates we should do for the Aruko markers, let us know in the chat, or you can also voice them now. But yeah, I don't know if we have any other updates on our side, at least, guys. So unless you have some questions, we're gonna wrap it up soon, but let's keep the conversation for a bit still in case you come up with some questions. What else? We've been doing let me show. I think we've mentioned it before, but we've been doing this new game description. I know it's still not final and people have maybe mixed feelings about it, but we're trying to make it so that if you're a new creator, that it would be easier to show nicely like info about your game and also the controls and stuff like that. I think we showed it before once, but I'm gonna show it quickly. Let me just find it. Let me find a game that I can show it nicely on. Nope. For example, this one. If you switch the scene, Esa. There we go. So this is another thing we're testing. It's still in development. But the nice part is, for example, if you have your keys mapped, it will automatically show it to the player, so you don't have to design anything. It will have the creator info thing here, where you will also be able to show, like, tell more about yourself. There's an extra field coming where you can show behind the scenes stuff, so it's like a separate field of its own. The leaderboard is moving to the bottom of the page, not to the bottom, but to the description of the page rather than here. This is to increase kind of the size of the game screen per se. And then also the schedule, the look of the schedule is changing. But this is still not final, we're just working on it. But yeah, that's another thing that might be interesting to know for the creators. But I don't think we have any other questions in the... Did you show my scene when I was talking about this?
No, I just kept you on the screen all the time.
Nice. But yeah, unless there are any questions in the chat, I think we are going to...
Stan,
Yes.
we could quickly demo the new custom configs. I don't think we've...
All right, let's do that.
made
Oh,
quite about them
are
yet.
they on master already? Are they on the website?
I'm pretty sure they are.
All right. So explain to me, how do I do it?
So you can go back to the game you just watched.
Okay.
And if you can go to the dashboard and settings. Can you...
Okay. Yes, I will. Oh, one sec. People seem to be asking on YouTube. I didn't realize that. That is a good point, Shane. Thank you. Oh, there are questions, and I just didn't realize. Let me check. Yeah, but let's first show the demo, and then I'll check if there are the questions on the YouTube. Sorry
Sure.
about that, YouTube people. That's my bad. Totally forgot. All right, so let's go to the page you mentioned.
Yes, settings and game engine.
All right, and then I have to copy. All right.
No,
so
no, you don't.
I don't have to do anything. All right. So you can show my screen. Great. So I go to the dashboard, and then I go to the settings, and then I go to the game engine.
And the bottom.
Yes.
And there you can see a custom config.
Okay.
And
How do I define it? Do I do it in our Python?
so I sent you the single
Somewhere.
line of code.
Okay. And where did you add it? In our Python?
Yeah, so in the Python code,
Okay.
in the
So
on config.
let me show you maybe guys here. This is the... I'm gonna send it to our Discord. One sec, chat. Here is the line that I was shared. And this is showing. So now, because I have this custom config, I can change the distance of detection, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. So you do it at on init.
Okay.
But yes, just that one line, and it'll show up here in the settings.
Okay. So if I put 2, it will have to be closer, right?
Yes.
All right. So I've changed it now, and it changes automatically, right? So just to clarify, this custom config thing, it allows you to, without changing, like without going to Python, change different parameters of your game logic, right?
Yep.
So if you, for example, have Aruko markers and you define all of those things that they're editable in the game engine, then somebody hosting or you hosting, you don't have to edit code. You can just change the win condition to 5, for example, instead of 3 checkpoints or something else, right?
Yeah. Or for instance, like I've done here, the distance kind of depends on the camera.
Yeah.
So you can this way easily find out what distance is good, or you know what is a good number for the distance you want.
Okay, so now I increase the distance, sorry, reduce the distance. So now if you play the game, or I will play the game, it doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
So when I play the game, because I changed the distance, I think you were holding it maybe like, what?
Maybe
Half
here.
a meter away, and
Yep.
now I have to have it closer
Yep.
for it to be counted. All right, so I'm in the game. Let's see if it works. So I have the Aruko marker, and then I have it very close. Very close. There we go. We get a point. If it's here, we're not getting a point. Oh no, we still got a point.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Not getting a point, I think. Let's see.
No, you're not.
And then we get closer. There we go. Not getting a point. Getting a point. I guess
Yeah,
if
but
we're-
I can see it here that it did update.
All right. So all right. So that's another thing. All right. Can we change the scene? Thank you. And now let's go check the chat. Sborgis, not Shane, is asking, what's the difference between the OBS thing you're talking about and the way it was done in the Let's Do This Trivia event? So in the Let's Do This Trivia event, they use the capture cards, the same as what we use on the Nintendo Switch. Which means that you need a lot of hardware. You need a Raspberry Pi, you need a capture card, and then basically you connect your computer to that capture card to the Raspberry Pi to stream your video stream. If you're using the browser method that we're working on, then you just do it directly on the same computer. So you just have the OBS, a virtual camera, and then in the browser you just stream it. So you don't need extra hardware or anything like that. And that hardware costs like a Raspberry 4 plus the capture card and everything. It's like maybe $80 with the current prices. So there you go. Makes it much easier. Carlito is asking, is it possible to run no Raspberry Pi at the moment? Yes. So if you if you run the Python from your computer, you can even use a PC. Then yes. So as mentioned, we have the streamer SDK, so the SurrogateTV, which we use to stream video, and then we also have our Python SDK, which is used to, I guess, control the robots or to define the game logic and stuff like that. So if you are using if you run it on your computer and then you use the phone or your PC or whatever else for streaming, then yes, you don't need to have a Raspberry Pi to have your own game on Surrogate.tv. Let's see if there are any other questions. Oh yeah, if Carlito follows up about the controller, yes. So as mentioned, you can use the controller from the PC if you run it. Give it a try. I don't think we ever tried it, but
I
it
haven't.
should work theoretically. Saku said for sure should work. So hopefully he's right. Carlito is asking, is this new method documented? Not yet. So this is all quite new. For example, the streaming from the phone, it's not yet on the main website. It's only on our internal testing and available also to alpha testers. But we will have it coming in the coming weeks, hopefully next week, if all goes right. So yeah, so stay tuned. We will announce it. As for the documentation, it will take some time to document because we haven't done anything yet. But once we've tested it well on the website and that it works, and maybe we run some experimentation event also through this method to make sure everything works, we will then document how to do all of that. It brings a lot of also challenges because we need to also update our game creation flow and stuff like that to make it obvious that you can do it this way. So yeah, it will be coming, but it just takes some time. Ethan Lai asks, can I run it on 2nd gen Raspberry Pi? So I don't think we've tested it, but as far as I know, the Raspberry Pi 2 doesn't have a hardware encoder for video like Raspberry 3 and Raspberry 4, and it's not really beefy powerful, so it might have some issues running the streamer. But if you wait for a bit and you can run the streamer from your computer, like the demo I showed with the webcam today, or from the phone, then you can use the Raspberry Pi 2 to run the Python SDK, for example. I believe you can run the streamer, but then you have to change the resolution to very low. So low, and you'll still get low FPS on your video stream. That is the issue with running on Raspberry Pi 2. So yeah, as Carlito writes in the chat, free A is the minimum, I think, and that is correct. But yeah, you can at least control the robot. You won't have the camera view, but you can control the robot on Raspberry 2 for sure. One thing though, I think one way you can overcome maybe this issue is if you have a camera that supports H.264 encoding, so the camera itself has a chip to encode the video, you can potentially use a webcam like that with a Raspberry 2, but it's not so trivial. So if you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't advise that. I'd advise having beefier Raspberry per se. Carlito writes, you can also use 0 for control only, but no video. That's correct. So that's another way. If you have a Raspberry Pi 0, you can use this new method that is coming soon, TM, to our website, to stream the video, and you can run the Python on the Raspberry 0, and you can also use the Raspberry 0 to control your robot. So that's another option.
But if you only have Raspberry 2, check out the Creators Fund.
Yes. If you have a great project idea or a game that you would want to build and show to the world, but you don't have the hardware, you can submit your idea to our Creators Fund, which you can find on our Creators page, so surrogate.tv/creators. You can apply, and if we like your idea, we will cover the hardware costs for your project. Every month we select 10 projects for this initiative.
There is a limit though.
Yes, so each project we cover 200 euros worth of hardware, which lets you buy Raspberry Pi, motors, and a bunch of stuff. And depending on the project, for example, a lot of creators, they already have the Raspberry Pi, but they want more of the hardware itself. They need more hardware for their project to happen. So some people already have parts of it, but then we cover the rest. So things like that. Any other questions in the chat?
Who let the devs out of their cage?
Funny story. We don't keep them in the cages here in Finland. Also, Finland is a real country. I know some people don't believe so, but it is true. Funnily enough, on the back, I don't know if you see on that camera, there is a cage-looking metal thingy. But no, this is not a cage. It's a carriage for packages. All right. I don't. Yeah, what is the cage in the background, right? It's Borges, not Shane. Dev carriage. Yeah, we need to make a new emoji for our Discord community, the Dev carriage. Speaking of the Discord community, if you still haven't joined and you're watching this on YouTube, for example, make sure to join our Discord community. Well, we have creators, makers, and real-life players from all over the world. More than 2,000 members there. Very helpful and wholesome community. If you're stuck on your project, people there will be happy to help and happy to test your games. So yeah, make sure to join it. It's discord.gg/SurrogateTV. All right, but without further ado, I think I answered, or that we've answered most of your question, guys. Gave you all the updates coming to the platform in the coming weeks. It's exciting, and yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you, Levi and Henry, for joining. Thank you, Essa, for managing the stream behind the scenes. And hey, for the first time we're on YouTube. We're not banned. Where there's no fire alarm or nothing like that. So
Can be arranged.
third time's the charm. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, as usual, on Thursday, 7 p.m. Finnish time. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ninja Robot podcast, and we have a bunch of games also running. Thank you, and bye-bye. Amazing.